Tika Sumpter. Welcome to WURD.
Oh, man, it's such a pleasure to be with you. I wish I was there with you guys. You guys are having an amazing conversation over there.
Thank you.
We're listening over here. Thank you for having me.
I was going to say, my producer is especially sad that he's not there to look into your eyes while
That's hilarious.
I've got to say that I'm totally geeked about having an opportunity to speak to you, because back when I was self-employed, before I came to WURD as an on-air host, I became familiar with you, with your role on One Life to Live, and have delighted in watching you evolve your acting career through all of the film experiences, and now to be able to play the First Lady, who so many of us love and admire. It's got to this last decade or so has been quite the journey for you, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's all the culmination of the walk, and working really hard. And yeah, One Life to Live. I mean, that was my first real job where I didn't have to be a waitress anymore and work a million jobs to try to get by. But yeah, it was a great stepping stone, and it allowed me to learn a lot. And, I had to get into character quickly, but it all led to the road of this that I actually am a producer on as well. And so I'm excited for you guys to get to see this film.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a chance. This is Mike. I had a chance to see the movie. I really enjoyed the movie, the chemistry, the story.
Thank you.
Just takes a moment in time and just connects us all.
Yeah.
What attracted you to the material? How'd you find out about this?
Well, I was given it was only a synopsis when I saw it. It wasn't even a script. And I met with the director, who was inspired by them and their love. He was inspired by their look. He was also the look of, like, when they look at each other and you're like, what is that? And he was falling in love at the time, and he was inspired by this. And I was like, whoever wrote the synopsis, 1989, and the origin of their story, I thought is brilliant. And I called him every week to actually write the script. I was on top of him, like, did you write it? Did you write it? And he finally wrote it. I was blown away. I gave it to my agent, and I said, I actually had a meeting with him first. His vision was so clear. And I said, we're going to make this. And he said that I said, even if I don't get to play her, we're going to make this film. And so we did, and we got it on its feet, and we got the financing, and and we made it. And I was grateful that my schedule worked out where I was able to play such an amazing person in the beginning of her career.
Yeah. And talk a little bit about that, because I think, we toss around these terms, director, producer, lead actor and actress, and we make certain assumptions about that process. But to be both in a space where you're developing the way that you portray this character on screen, but also being intimately involved in the financing and how this film got made, those are two very distinct and necessary jobs in order to be able to bring this film to light.
Oh, yeah. Very different. I mean, I had no idea what it took to become a producer. I just kind of did it. And I just wanted to make sure that the job of the producer is to get the vision of the director out there, to make it come to life, and to get everything he needs, the tools to make it great. And also, he was a first-time director, so to get people on board and for them to see my excitement and to see that I was confident in him, it was a big deal. So that was one thing, but then also preparing to become Michelle Robinson, who, there's no video of her from back in that time. There's no recording. So I read a lot of books, but the one that helped me the most was her brother's game of character, Craig Robinson. And it really just informed me on who she was at that time and her family and how they instilled such confidence in her and self-esteem. And, Barack wasn't her only option, A lot of the times they would say, well, he's not going to make it, So it's like, I love that. And the thing I loved about this film is, a lot of romantic comedies or romantic movies is the woman's always chasing after a man. And I love that he has to work. She's the prize, and I think it's important for people, women especially, to see us as the prize and that he didn't stop, but it was two great minds coming together in the beginnings of their career and seeing different things that they wanted to change about themselves, not just for each other, but for themselves. So I just love the complexity of both of these characters.
Right. And in the movie,
I hope I answered your question. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the movie, it all takes place in one day. It kind of reminds me of movies like Medicine for Melancholy or the Before Sunrise, things like that. I mean, just really beautifully done. But then also, like, intricately textured with cultural references. You have the Ernie Barnes references, and then
Good Times.
Right thing, you know. I mean, how important was it, you know, to have sort of the Black cultural references informed throughout the piece for you?
Well, I think that was part of the thread of their lives. You know, that's part of our culture. You know, people are always like, well, how do you know, I guess people are always like, well, how do you write, you know, Black people? It's like, we do the same things that you do. We just, you know, we sometimes watch different things, you know. I think that was important because that's part of them. You know what I mean? It would be like me talking about The Cosby Show or A Different World or something like that, you know, now. But it was important because they affected their lives at that time. You know, Barack talks about Good Times, and JJ and Ernie Barnes, how that thread is together, you know, weaved together. So it's I love that that's highlighted in it, you know, and it's showing the beauty in us in that way as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've had a big conversation, and I don't envy President Obama's role, especially in these, you know, in this week, and the fact that he's winding down his tenure, to be able to juxtapose how we understand him as a man and as a leader now with this moment of them coming together in a relationship and building the foundation for what would become the president and first lady, I think is important for us to continue to humanize what it takes to be able to serve in that capacity, to love people, but also to try and shape a world where we are keeping things in order for everybody else. And so it's got to, in addition to the roles that you played on both sides of the camera in order to make this film happen, the timing of this and being able to offer this story at this moment in history, I imagine that hit you pretty hard this week. Yeah.
I mean, one, I think it shows that we're going to miss them. Two, they have been the most accessible first couple I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like the way they invite people into the White House, the way they, you know, she comes out and she dances to Beyonce, the way he, you know, talks about, I just feel like the way they connect to the culture, I think it's really important. And I think this film is going to make people miss them even more, because you get in, you're like a fly on the wall to their relationship and kind of what happened in order for them to be who they are right now, and that they're human. You know, he experienced pot back in the day. You know what I mean? And he smoked cigarettes. He's not perfect. And I think we have this thing in our society where we think people are perfect and they say all the right things at the right time. And I think it humanizes them, you know, including her. You know, what I love about her is she's unapologetic about who she is, but still flexible on wanting to be, you know, to elevate herself and to help and not knowing exactly what she wanted to do at certain times. So I think, like you said, it definitely humanizes them and it winds down the clock. And I think it's something that we're definitely going to miss.
He's the summer associate I told y'all about, the one from Harvard Law. He invited me to a community event.
So what's this boy's name?
Barack Obama.
Barack, I want him.
Hello.
You're late.
I was hoping you wouldn't notice.
I expected it. You were late for your first day of work.
You noticed that too.
I'm your advisor. I'm supposed to notice.
Well, Michelle, all set?
Shouldn't we be getting to the meeting?
We have some time. I thought we'd swing by the art center, see some paintings, maybe grab a bite to eat.
This is not a date. How's it gonna look if I start dating the first cute Black guy who walks through the firm's doors? It would be tacky.
You think I'm cute?
I didn't say that.
Definitely. And it's a beautiful film, you know, and just how they illuminate each other.
Yeah.
There's keys in there where they sort of say the right thing to give each other strength. I mean, it's really an important film. It's just needed.
Yeah. And they challenge each other. And,
Yes.
things, that's the thing. Things aren't always just easy. You know what I mean? It's like, I think a lot of the times we forget during the courtship, we just want to listen, anybody's allowed to do what they want to do, but I was having this conversation. I think sometimes taking our time and actually having a real conversation and being challenged by somebody else will actually, help the situation rather than, we wouldn't be in as much trouble, I think, in a lot of relationships if we just take our time. And I that's what I love about this film. It walks you through it. It's not, cut, everything's, it's not MTV style. It's really, let's walk, let's talk, let's get to know, and you get to be a fly on the wall for that.
Yeah, I mean, the movie would have worked even if it was just about Barry and Michelle from Chicago. But
exactly. I'm so glad you got that. Glad you got that.
It's great. But, I wish we had more time to talk with you.
Yes.
And looking forward to, like, you being more in the starring role, taking the wheel.
Well, that's also the producer, that's the other thing. It's like we were talking before we got on with you. It's important to produce projects that, not everybody's writing a lead for me. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to figure it out and get in this role myself. I love when people are like, they casted you. And I'm like, well, I kind of casted myself. Yeah. And you have to do that nowadays. I don't want to just be a best friend, or I don't want to just be, have the second, story on a show, you know what I mean, or whatever. I want to be in the forefront as well, and I want to tell stories that matter and stories that matter to us, and yeah, so that's where I'm at.
And don't want you to be a stranger. So
exactly, I was going to say, and like I said, since I've seen you since One Life to Live, I'm just thinking about these projects that you've been able to take on. So from that to Sparkle, to Ride Along 1 and 2, to the role that you played in Bessie, watching the way that you bring dignity to these characters, and that, when we talk about cultural icons and where things fit into the stories that we are telling that are important to our lives, you've made us laugh, you've made us feel, and that is so incredibly important. So we want your star to continue to rise, and whether that means people are writing roles for you or you're producing and putting yourself in a position for us to get to know you even better on screen, we're glad that it's happening and want to see it happen for a long time.
Oh my gosh, I'm speechless. Thank you so much. I've been listening to you guys talk, and I hope that I get to come back and actually be with you guys and actually talk about what's going on now and the craziness. But you guys keep doing the great work that you're doing. I really appreciate your support.